Wow, a hexagonal roguelike that talks about the purpose of life and lets you choose whether you want to go to hell or not. Right. That's right, I'm talking about Immortal Tactics, War of the Eternals. The new game that just came out, well, about to come out, probably by this time this video finally gets out. But yeah, the demo has been out for a little while. Some people have been talking about it, it's kind of cool, so, you know, let's talk about it. Because I'm a Christian, and there's Christian-like things in it, right? It works. Hello, I'm Noah Price. I am your Christian gamer who loves RPGs and JRPGs and video games that are very similar to it, just like roguelikes. I really love roguelikes so much. A lot of times I like doing big reviews where I play through the whole game and things, but sometimes that takes forever, so I can't always do that with every game. So demos like this is a great way for me to tip my toes into it and give my first impressions on it, especially if it's a brand new game that some people are kind of looking at and be like, this is pretty cool. Like some have about this game. Now, I will be honest, I hadn't heard about this game until just recently, and that's mostly because a content creator that I like to watch here or so that does a lot of roguelikes is Retribution. He does a lot of great videos and a lot of impressions and first tries of games. One of them was this game, and instantly right off the bat, seeing it's a hexagonal and the demo was just out for a little while, that I thought this is the best time for me to just experience them. He has a lot of credibility of finding games that are pretty good, so instead of watching his content, I like, no, we're not gonna watch it. We're gonna go try it out for ourselves. And all I knew about the game was that it had the hexagonal kind of type style of combat and that it was a roguelike. I didn't really need much more than that, to be honest. But once I jumped in, I was very surprised about what the game was actually about. So let's just jump into the game. Just figure out. It's right off the bat, we get into it, so let's jump into it. The game starts off with its intro movie showing us the setting of the game. The setting is a world that has a constant struggle against the gods of good, evil, nature, and humanity. This constant struggle isn't necessarily bad, but it's how the world should be. A world filled with love and compassion, but also death and sin. Painting a picture similar to ours. The real problem's when a celestial void comes into the picture, forcing the world to lose its meaning and understanding, which would also relieve others of their suffering and pleasure, causing them to feel nothing. The celestial void used its converts to cause destruction to the world in order to share the idea of bleakness to others. The gods then decided to band together to take on the void so that there will still be a world for them to rule. That is the plot of this game. The story being told here is very interesting. Before I became a Christian, my view of the world was very bleak and steeped in nihilism. So seeing a game that paints the true antagonist being a pointless life is interesting. I do find it funny that the four gods are what seems to be angels and demons, and then Mother Nature and humans. Like, it's always funny that humans are constantly looked at as the enemy of nature, and not a part of it. Again, I think it's funny. I believe that humans are set apart from nature, but that's because I'm a Christian. When others separate us from nature just to do it because the fact that our deeds impact nature in a negative way, I just find it very interesting. Like, that's their way of reasoning why we're not a part of nature. But either way, I don't believe this is a Christian game. I mean, for one, there are gods, like multiple, not just a single god. But I do enjoy enough of the Christian themes, to be honest, like how my commander can be an angel, and I can fight the good fight. Okay, let's jump into the game and let me show you. Right off the bat, it looks like we have a choice between leaders we want to use. Either the Angel of Death or the Divine Leader. Obviously, I picked the Divine Leader. Before we can jump into Save the Day, we have the option of choosing the difficulty, where I wussed out, and I picked normal, and then the only option to go is to the Wildlands. Yeah, no, I don't play with these games. These games, a lot of times, if you put the hard mode, it gets hard. Before we start our first random encounter, we have win cons, which are also random. The required one to win the encounter is to defeat all enemies. Easy. Our bonus mission, which will grant us some kind of bonus reward, is letting no one die and also win in 13 turns. Maybe this is easy? I honestly didn't cast the second win con till later in the match, which will explain some choices I made. We learn a little bit about the UI, like how our people gain experience from hitting enemies with skills and also get more experience from actually killing the enemy. And then we're in the game. Not much for a tutorial, which made it a bit confusing at the start, but it didn't take long for me to start understanding how the game works and how it functions. Just a little trial and error. Probably the biggest confusing part at first was the turn order. The turn order went enemy moves, then I get to move, then I attack, and then the enemy attacks. Also, I didn't clearly read these two different types of tiles, but the first slows your movement permanently for this encounter, and the other does a half damage, which is 1/6 of our dude's health. I honestly assumed they were just trees, and that if we went in there, they would give us some kind of defense boost. I guess that's what I get for assuming it's similar to other tactical games. I moved my dudes and got into the attack phase to where I could finally move. It took forever for me to figure this out. But we learned that some of our skills have unlimited uses, but there are others that have limited uses. And if we decide to wait instead of attacking, we'll gain a point, which will help us so that we can tackle more with limited uses skills. We also get told that we can use our leader's skills when we have a point, which right now we don't. This is filled out by actually beating the map and also doing the bonus objectives. I decided to lead with my knight and have it deal 2 damage to the end to take it to half health. And then I learned that if I wanted to finish off anyone, I would have to use both my archer and my wizard to take them out, which I was hoping to deal a little bit more damage than that, but then again, I guess the knight is the strongest one. So I decided to just focus on that to take him out. Until I learned that my wizard, if he attacked, would burn it, which would kill the Ent, but after the Ent attacked. So I let the Ent live until it would die on the burn and hope it just won't do too much damage to us. And I decided to do chip damage to the goblin instead. The enemy almost completely focuses on our knight and brings him down to a half health and making him crippled so that he can't move for 1 turn. We move our men closer who can move, and then moving into attack, we make our knight almost take out the dogman that looks like he could probably do some damage. And then with the archer, we took him out before we could find out. Then we used our wizard to take out the goblin so that there'd be less possible damage coming at us. But the nearby goblin was easily able to take out our knight, and we continued the match as it was until we got close to the end where I remembered the optional goal of keep going for our dudes alive, so I restarted the map. This time with more understanding. And this time, without moving our units to tiles that hurt us, we tried our best to take out 2 bodies, being the 2 goblins. Sadly, our wizard is out of range, so we just gotta go with the burn on the end. All our troops take a half damage, crippling my knight once more. Luckily though, the knight just learned the massive cleave skill, which will let us take both the Ent and the goblin out. We then decided to just burn the wolfman and have our archer just do half damage to the other archer. We pick up the gem before we finish the map for whatever it's worth, and our knight is able to take out the wolfman. Our wizard almost kills the archer, but technically does with the burn, which will proc after it attacks us. And our archer snipes out the other archer. And we won the match, with none of our peasants dying. The reward for completing both missions is that we fill up our bar by 2. And it looks like it takes 3 successive missions or objectives to fill it completely, letting us have a single charge for our commander. Either way, off to the next area to prove that we are worthy to quell the celestial void. This time we have 3 different possible missions. The required one is to pull both levers, which when done will help us out. The other 2 are winning before a certain amount of turns, and the other is not losing any units, which I think is very doable. While the start of this encounter started out alright, it quickly started to go downhill because of poison. I mean, I was still able to do cool stuff like cleave, and we got to see how the environment can be even more of a danger, either to us or our enemies. But slowly, all of our peasants ended up falling. And I'm reminded that this game is a roguelike. So we have to start again from scratch. I've mentioned in other episodes before that when it comes to roguelikes, I prefer roguelikes that are built more on randomness. At least have some kind of difference per run. And so far in this demo, at least, we haven't really gotten that much choice. I was hoping to get some kind of choice, at least with our skills that we'd learn or anything, but so far, the only thing that's been random or possibly different each run is, well, just our possible victory conditions. That's really all it's been. Starting over again, we were able to finish off the first encounter with both of the missions complete, not surprising. Back at the second encounter though, we decided to focus more on the levers instead of just rushing in to attack. After using our knight to cut a path to the lever, we do a massive AoE spell with our wizard, not only almost killing them, but also paralyzing them, which is definitely going to help keep them at bay. We then book it to the lever, taking care of all the goons in our way that we can, and we finally make it to the first lever, which sends a volley of arrows at our foes, killing actually one of them. And after that, even though more reinforcements were called in, it didn't take long for us to make it to the last lever, winning the match and completing 3 of the missions we had. Because of that, we got 1 charge of our leader's ability, which we don't actually use, but don't worry about that. Our next encounter is a survive for X turns mission. The other 2 win cons have to do with kill X amount of enemies, and the last one is a good old not let anyone die. I do like having a good old survive tactical mission, I really enjoy those. But the biggest key difference in this match is that now we have dinos with knives, I guess, as an enemy to worry about. Honestly, the match ended up not being that hard, especially with the understanding of how if you just really keep your space in between foes, you can really just sweep the floor, especially once I started healing ourselves also. It just really made the mission very easy of just spacing and walking around foes. So obviously, yeah, we completed all 3 missions there. Which we did all that again without even using one of our leader's ability, which does heals all of our units, but it wasn't necessary. But that was it for the demo. We do have the option to play and see if it's different if we choose the evil leader's route, but I'd rather not. But that was the game. Wow. Immortal Tactics is a really great game. I really enjoyed the hexagonal style combat and how it worked and played. It took me forever to really fully grasp about the turn order and how all of that actually worked. That's mostly because of how it was kind of taught and shown. It wasn't really done that well, but honestly, it's the type of game where you can just keep playing and you'll figure it out. So it's not really that big of a problem. Looking back at my gameplay, I'm like, oh my gosh, I made some dumb decisions. Why didn't you just move barely out of range? But doesn't matter. There's a lot I like about the game. I really do like the level up system. It's not bad. It feels enjoyable enough. I just wish there was more randomization because it's a roguelike. I love that in a roguelike. More creative and weird different things that can happen every single time you do a run is what I love. This, it just feels like you're just doing a trial run, just be the best going through, and the only thing that's different is possible bonus wins. That's about it. Then again, this is just the demo, so I could be wrong. There could be much more customization. At the very least with troops, I do know that they have other possible troops and people you could use, so that at least is pretty good to have. They also have different leaders, though I don't really care that much about it too much. I mean, the only other leader I would probably use is humanity. Yeah, but honestly, why do humanity when you can just do God? You're just with God. I don't understand. It's just, for me as a Christian, it's just better. Just better. Speaking of the Christians part, how do I feel about it? Do I think this is a Christian-based game? It's really hard to tell. A part of me feels like it is, because it does have the representation of, oh, there's the good God and the evil God, and it's literally angel, demon. It's very Christian-based. But then again, that could be just from the broad standing. Like, a lot of us have grown up with cartoons where they have the constant, oh, there's the angel on your one shoulder and the devil on your other shoulder. Like, that's a constant thing to where even the broad sense, I think most people, at least in America, can understand the idea of, ooh, angels being represented as good and demons being represented as evil. So it's hard to say that this game is specifically Christian based, especially since you do have the other gods that are literally nature and humanity. So it's really hard to say, but honestly, I still enjoyed the representation, because then as a Christian, I could be like, yeah, let's go angels. Let's go God. Like, yeah, no, I'm all about that. So at the very least, I made the most of it. I don't know. But my favorite thing about the game actually is the game's like kind of its story of purpose is kind of important, and having no purpose and having a meaningless void of a life is bad. It's kind of like not good to have a meaningless life. Like, a part of life is having meaning. Like, I think a lot of people, even those who aren't religious, can kind of understand that that's a important aspect in our life, is finding meaning, and with that kind of having value to yourself. While all of it, I don't think it's good for you, it's not healthy outside of a Christian perspective. Like, in a secular sense, it can still be very easy just to be damaging. If you just put all your value into the work you do, then it's like that's your identity, and then one flaw there or something bad happens, then it reflects on you, and just, it's not healthy. It's not how God made it. So yeah, there's a point of it where it's not good, but there is a sense of purpose is very important to a human life, and not having it is very not good. And I can even relate with this, because like, before I was Christian, I was really pretty much a nihilist. To be honest, I saw no meaning in the world without Christ. It just, to me, it really didn't make sense, a life, which was pretty dark and sad and painful. But like, yeah, I have kudos to this game to at least pointing out, and at least that's the focus of the game. It's like, hey, purpose is important. I think that's a very interesting. I really like it. Should you play this game though? I mean, I don't see why you shouldn't. If you really like this type of hexagonal, very tactic-based kind of thought process of a game, you should definitely do it. If you're wanting it for a roguelike experience, I think it's kind of lackluster for that. At least in the demo. It could be different. Obviously, like, if you want to watch other stuff, I would watch Let's Plays of it first. Like, that's what I would do to get a feeling of more of what the actual game has in store. But at least based on the demo, it's kind of lackluster as a roguelike. At least for me and my preferences. Again, I like more randomness, more different options in your runs per run. But that's just me. Overall in the game, I think it's a really good game. Don't think I'll ever play the demon route, because like, I don't like doing that as a Christian. I know some Christians who do stuff like that, where they play more the demons and stuff like that, because they're more like, I like playing the archetype of the villain. It's not so much specifically I like demons. But as me, as a Christian, I don't really like it, so I'm good. I'm not gonna touch it. But yeah, that's it for today. If you want me to play this game in a big old review, let me know down in the comments. Or if there's any games you want me to, one, give my impressions on, or even review, let me know down in the comments. But without further ado, Jesus loves you, and goodbye.